Good evening. How are you? How's everybody doing this evening? I am Dr. Gray. Welcome to Power of Positivity. Once again, I am Dr. Gray, your professor of positivity. You are in for a special treat because this is episode one of Power of Positivity. I would like for you to not only share this on your platforms, but also visit this on YouTube, as this video and other great content will be added on YouTube and uploaded. The mission and purpose of this is threefold: encourage, inspire, and empower. Let me say it again. The mission of Power of Positivity is threefold: encourage, inspire, and empower. There is a power in positivity that is unparalleled in the universe. All we have to do is raise our level of consciousness and we can grab it, reach it, go for it, achieve it, attain it, anything you can name. From the positive mindset aspect, it is possible. And if you don't believe me, you're going to find out. And if you have doubters that's in your midst, you tell them the professor of positivity said it is so. We have a special guest on today. And we have a transformational life coach who is a champion in her own right. And she is changing the world in her own unique way with her own unique style. And we're going to talk about the positive mindset tonight. And she is Joanna Kleier. And I'm going to bring Joanna Kleier. And I'm going to bring her on the show right now. So if you give me a moment to bring her on here.
Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Joanna. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Glad I could be here with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Transformational Life Coach Joanna Kleier. She is out of California. And is that Duarte, California? Did I say that correctly?
It is Duarte, California. Yes, it's just 15 minutes east of Pasadena, California, the city of roses.
Okay, I'm jealous. I'm out here in Jersey. It's cold and damp and windy. I'm jealous. But thank you. I just want to do a little intro about how we met. We met recently, and we are part of a group of world changers.
Yes, we are.
And I made the declaration that in my own little way, I want to change the world through saturating positivity into the atmosphere. And you were the first one who jumped and said, I'm there. I'm with you. And I thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate that. So I just want to just your talking points bio was so interesting to me, because the first thing you said, because I normally say, shoot me a little bio, let me know a little bit about yourself. You said human first. Human first. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, we all are going through a tough time with COVID and any kind of life stresses that we've had in our childhood and into our adulthood. I'm just turned 50, so I'm half a century old, which is kind of strange to say. But I noticed that with people, when they go through traumas, I'm also worked in customer service for 31 years. And I've noticed a trend that when someone's going through a trauma or a trial, it really stirs up the childhood situation that they were in. I'm talking about myself as well. And when you're human and you go through hard times, you think that there's a lot of emotions that you get. You get anger. You're like, why does this happen to me? But I'm human first, because I'm testament that you can come back after trauma, that you are strong inside. A friend of mine said, Angie Knight Sarkisian, said to me, you are Superwoman. You have to say, I am Superwoman until you are Superwoman. And you can't let all those things that go on that are negative.
Okay. Joanna, look like I lost you momentarily. Let me I'll bring you back on once I got you back. It looked like I've lost you momentarily. We had a little technical difficulty with Joanna, and she's ready to come back to the broadcast. And let me bring her back in here. There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it kicked me out.
All right. Listen, we have learned to endure through all kind of technological difficulties. We have learned, but that's what resilience
It's
is.
all good.
That's right. It is all good. I'm not going to let a little glitch like that. We just keep on going. And you know what? We just bounce back. That's what resiliency is. We bounce back. But continue
Sounds
on.
awesome.
You were talking about that resiliency that we have in us.
Yes, I learned being on the earth a little longer than some people that the hard times and the trials and the tribulations are kind of like I've heard it said, kind of like the wind that blows a tree and then the roots grow deeper. And you can either stay victim or you can become champion or warrior. And you can take those things and you can put it into your life as examples of how to learn from the hard times, take those things and learn from the hard times. I read a book called The Rise, a Danette May book called The Rise, and she talks about how in one of her chapters, gifts wrapped in sandpaper. And so life has challenges. It can be rough sometimes, but when it comes to a diamond, it goes through its processes. A pearl or any kind of life that is there, the hard stuff, it turns into a beautiful gem or a beautiful marble, or it's just a part of life.
The
I've heard
transformation.
it said that. Yes, it's where there's good, there has to be bad. It's philosophy. And I've really learned that as I've gotten a little older.
So what you're speaking of, at some levels, is an education of sorts. That adversity
Yes,
is a school of education. Yeah, absolutely.
yes. Yeah,
Speak
you
to
can either take it as as something bad, but it is bad. I'm not saying it's not bad, and I'm not saying it's not challenging, but you can be courageous and you can work through those things too, which are hard. And there are tools to use to be able to do that. And I'm learning what those are myself. And then I'll be able to teach people those tools that I'm learning through all this process.
I've heard it said that you don't know who you are until you put in some hot water. And I thought about a tea bag. I love tea. I love a good cup of green tea. But what you won't find me doing is walk around chewing on just a tea bag. There's no value in that. What's good in that tea bag is only exposed in hot water. Who we are is exposed when we're faced with some adversity. That's who we truly are. What's in you comes out, whether it's a victim or a victor, that comes out in hot water. What I want you to address and talk to us about, because you're a transformational life coach. Tell us a little about what that is.
Okay, so I'm dealing with somebody with a trauma. I just recently have a client where she's in a situation where it was traumatic for her, a 30-year relationship, and he had power over her, and she wasn't strong enough to get out. She had endured stress upon stress. She would try to leave, and he would physically pin her down. He wouldn't hit her or bruise her, whatever, but he would do things to confine her. And she had a hard time leaving because she was afraid of what she eventually has to come to, the fact that she needs to leave the situation. And so I'm there as a coach when she leaves, and I help her with EDD, getting assistance with disability. I don't mind having them in my home for a few days. It doesn't bother me. And then I take them out of the situation, and I provide services for them to get out. And it's very difficult because you feel alone in that situation. And a lot of times when you're going through a hard time, you do feel alone. And so it's hard to reach out. So I want to provide a service where the women feel safe, where they can get out of these bad situations and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And they also need to learn that it's not okay for people to treat them bad. My mother was a domestic violence victim for a long period of time, probably about 35 years off and on. my father was a veteran and served in Vietnam and Korea, and so he came back with PTSD and alcoholism, and a lot of that happens over there where they're traumatized and they come back here and they don't know how to deal. And so I would help them. It doesn't have to be just a woman, but I could actually help a man or a child come out of a bad situation, and I kind of guide them through the process of leaving, finding home for them, giving them resources they need to get out of the bad situation and heal. Because when they're in the bad situation, they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's very difficult for them. So that's what I do, and I love it. I've done it for about 25 years with my friends, and I just decided it's something I enjoy. It's something I find empowering. They love it, and they're grateful for my help. So every day is a new day
So,
for me and them.
so what I'm hearing you saying, a lot of when the word coach, when I think of the word coach, because I love sports and I love sports analogies, and the coach, for example, LeBron James, probably the best player in the NBA, just won a championship. The coach
Right.
wasn't there to make him the best basketball player because he already was. He was there to take him where he was to get him to go to a higher level based on what he already had. And
Right.
there's some investment that must go into it. There's a lot of not just about his physical capacity, but his psychological capacity, emotional capacity. There's investment. And when I heard you say that you even take people in your house, that's an investment. And that's the difference between a life coach and a life consultant. But
Well, I'm just in the beginning of all this, and so I'm excited to see where it takes me, because there's all sorts of wounded warriors out there, and they don't see that in them, and so I want to bring that out.
now let's talk about, because Les Brown and John Tallarico always says that there's power in our story, that there's power in our
Yeah.
story. And one of in your email to me, one of your bullets said victim to champion. That's a strong spectrum because some people never rise past victim. They never rise past victim. You rose past that. And I understand clearly, because I also traveled that same path, that there is both pain and power in our stories. So I
Yeah.
want to go back to the genesis of the work you do with women in terms of transforming their lives through investing in them, because it had to come from
Okay.
somewhere. So talk about your journey from victim to champion.
Okay. Well, when I was a child, and it's very difficult because when you're in a situation with parents that are human themselves, that have problems, they don't know what to do. They didn't back then have the resources to get help. There was no shelters, there was no supplemental income, there was nothing that a woman or a man could go where they could go to get those services. And my parents lived year after year. They lost their first child, my brother, at age 7. And my dad was struggling with his mental illness. And we were in thankfully, we were in a church that was very much of a family, and we were able to be in that group of people that would help them go through all these hard times. And so when I was living in my house, they would be in situations where my dad would drink and would not remember what he was doing, because with PTSD a lot of the times you don't remember what you're doing. You go into a state of shock and you don't realize what you're doing. And as a child, I had no idea what was going on until later in life. My dad was 64 when he passed away. And I was the baby of 5 children, and I grew to have a relationship with him as soon as my mom was stopped being hit, as soon as they got help. My mom read the book, change that heel. And there's a few books out there that helped her. The Boundaries book by Henry Clouded Townsend. And so I had the example of them going through the hard times, and then eventually my mom being pulled out by my sister. I was probably up until the age of 16. My dad, we would have episodes, and I would have to watch my mom be physically harmed without any consequence. And so as the years went on, my mom was finally pulled out. And even before that, when people at church, like women that were having difficulties, drugs, alcohol, they would be in relationships with children, and my actual parents would let them stay with us. So I think that's where that comes from. Their example of that, of pulling women out of bad situations. They were getting help later because she was pulled out. And the only reason why they stayed married for 41 years was because my dad stopped doing what he was doing. And it was because my mom became that champion that I want to be. And she was my model, and he was my model of stick-to-itiveness. And even if you have the bad things, there are some positive things that come out of my childhood. Even with that, my parents were not all bad. There were a lot of good qualities, and I'm the same way. And that's why when we're human, we make mistakes, right? People
Mm-hmm.
don't know sometimes why they behave the way they do. But because of my example of my parents, and when my dad died at 64 from cancer, I got to know him after he stopped hitting her. I would go into his space and get to know him. And it was very scary at first because he was scary to me. I still deal with these feelings today as a grown adult. But because I went into those spaces with my dad and tried to get to know who he was without the negative side of him, we grew to have a relationship. And in the end, he came down with cancer. I was 25 years old. He came down with cancer. And we would be in the kitchen talking here and there, and I helped with hospice. But he told me some stories about what he had done, and he was crying and he was sobbing, and he was able to make amends with me and tell me what I did was very wrong. I needed to be taken away. And he was crying and sobbing, and it was a very touching time for me because as they healed, I healed. And as now that they're both gone, I'm able to see what they accomplished, see what they went through, see the process. They are true champions because they did not stay in that space of victim. They got help. And so I use their example for my life. And because they did what they did, I do what I do. Parents are very pivotal in how you turn out as a human being.
Absolutely. Crucial. Foundational. Absolutely.
We are defined by our parents, and because that was the environment to which we were brought in. And so, reading the Boundaries book was a life-changing book for me because my mother had suggested it years prior. And just to push through fears and get to know who they were as people, as a young adult. And so I was able to be there through all the hard times and have my own set of hard times. But my dad told me one thing in the end. He said, if I can make it better for my children than I had it, I'm doing all right. And it has stuck with me all these years, 21 years later. I just love the courage that they had.
One of the comments that we had from Angie Gray was that it's never too late to transform from a victim to a champion. Anita saying hello from New Zealand. Hello, we got New Zealand in the house. Listen, I want to give an analogy, Joanna, because it takes. You know how we talk about our first responders, how
Yes,
how special they are from a bravery perspective. You're a
yes,
first responder.
I
You're a first
am.
responder because you were able to come out of a burning building. And
Yes,
you
very
even
much.
still, in the lives of these women, you still go back into burning buildings. But there's
Yes,
still some emotional blowback that you have to deal with every time you
correct.
approach a burning building. So, how
Yeah.
do you process that? How do you process that, knowing that my calling is to go back into burning buildings?
Well, I think that I process it by when I help them, it helps me. So and when I help them, it helps me recognize what I went through and why I went through what I went through in my own personal life, because I had alcoholism myself. And I've witnessed a lot of bullying. Actually, my baby is standing up to bullies because I see it in my work. I see it in customer service. I see it in these different ways. They do trigger me, but as I've grown older, I understand what's going on. When I was younger, I had no idea. I would get these really uncomfortable feelings and not understand why. But I'm just now at 50 years old, recognizing when they're going through these things. It kind of reminds me of what I went through as a child, and I can help them go through it because it's almost parallel. It's almost parallel. If you help yourself, then and you go help others, it helps you. It's recycling.
Absolutely.
It's just over and over again. And you have to start from the base. Another a hashtag I have is to change from within, because that's where it begins, from within. And I'm taking that class, Thinking into Results, a Bob Proctor program with John Tallarico.
Oh, it's
And
awesome.
they talk about mindset. They talk about, shifting from the emotional response from outside sources to having those pathways kind of clear up. So I'm in that process right now. And so, one day at a time, we are what we put into ourselves, and
Mhm.
self-love is key. The last couple of years, I'll share real quick the story. I was a first responder to my mother. For 3 weeks we were in the hospital, and I got her through 2 major surgeries in 15 months, and we were going to go home after 3 weeks. We got her well, and that was not easy. She had abdominal surgery, and it was time to take her home, and I took her home and took her to her bed, laid down with her for a little bit, and I was going to care for her. And within 20 minutes, she went unconscious and passed out. And she never came to. So I had to do compressions on her and my mother. So I was a first responder. I understand everything that they go through. I understand the triggering. I understand the loss. I understand the mourning process more and more every day. That was 2.5 years ago, and I'm still trying to overcome that. But as the title of your program is Power Through Positivity, and knowing that we go through hard times, we can get out. And so there's a shift there. So we can't give up. We can't give up on ourselves, and we can't give up on other people. They need our help. They need support. They need to know there's a safe place for them to go, because they don't feel safe.
Well, I want to
And
help you out.
so I want to help.
I want to help you out a little bit, because I want to give you another tagline to use in your resume. You are an emotional first responder. You're an
Yeah.
emotional first responder. Yes, you are. Because people are in crisis. They're in that emotional burning building. They're in that emotional unsafe place, and you run right in, and you run in,
Right.
and that's the
Yes.
heart
And if you don't,
of a
yeah.
champion.
Well, and if you don't know what they're going through, or you haven't been what they've been through, you can't really necessarily understand. And so, number one, you have to acknowledge what they're going through and yourself, and you have to understand. And by understanding, my father, in that at that time he was sick, by trying to understand him years after he stopped the abuse, after all that time, that's when the win started. When I conquered the fear, false evidence appearing real. But it was real to me, because that was my background, and that was my history, and that was my environment. I was born a very positive person. My glass is half full all the time. Even through all that, I can smile even through all that, because I know in the end, good will prevail, and I'm very excited
Positivity
about that.
wins. Positivity
It,
wins.
it does.
The good book tells us we are more than conquerors. We are more than
Yes,
conquerors. Absolutely.
we have
Definitely.
to believe that. We have
And
to
that
believe that.
and that's the positive mindset. There's so many things vying for our attention emotionally, mentally,
Right.
so many distractions. We must saturate ourselves with positivity because positivity conquers everything.
It
Every
does. It does. But once we start releasing the pain, right, of the past and writing, I wrote it down like last week, literally, wrote down all my traumas and I burned them. I
I love
burned
that.
them.
I love that.
Sym- Symbolically, I freed myself of a lot of bondage and pain and baggage that I was holding on to. I let my past define me. So I'm in a big shift right now. So if I keep growing, then I can help people where their starting point is where I was, addiction and, just trying to get through the day, working hard for my two children. You know, we are put aside when we have children, when we have a family. We can't just ignore them and what their needs are. So we have to put ours on pause. But my children are 17, 19 now. So, and I'm helping them try to thrive as young women. So I'm really excited about that. But I am an example of what I should be doing for my children. My parents were an example of what they did to get help and to try to get better. I'm what I call with my client an avatar. I'm an avatar of what reality is, whether it's right or wrong. And
Yeah.
so it's just amazing to come from adversity and to make it to the other side. Because, when you fall, you get right back up. Les Brown does say, and I
That's
got
right.
chills when I heard it. When you fall, land on your back. Because when you can look up, you can get up.
That's right.
And trials are there to make us stronger so that when we get up, we we don't have to look back, we can look forward. And so there's so much learning to be had, and we learn till we die. That's what my mother taught me at the end. We learn till we die, because I had conversations at the end in the hospital. She's like, I wish I would have done that. I wish I wouldn't have done that and this, all the way till 78 years old. So the message is you'll never stop learning. Just because you think you conquered something doesn't mean it's going to go away. Things surface. And what happens is when they surface, as you get older, you're able to understand what's going on. When you're young, you have no idea. But we have to let that process take place over time.
The Apostle
And
Paul wrote,
in order to have a good
I die
message, you have to
daily.
be a messenger.
And what you just said, it tell you, it reminds me of the Apostle Paul, I die daily. We fight this fight every day. We have to
Yes,
put
every day.
on our war clothes. The Bible says the full armor of God. We have to get ready to fight every day. That's what
Yeah.
champions do. When you said victim to champion, champion said, today I'm fighting. Circumstances, you might as well get ready for a fight. Problems, you might as well get ready for a fight. Situations, get ready for a fight because I am fighting. And that's what you're talking about. That's how you transform people's lives. You know what, Joanna? You ooze empathy. Empathy comes through your voice, and empathy comes from a lived experience. Empathy is not experiential. Living comes that comes from a place where you can feel it. You've been there. You've done that. And even though you may have different experience from somebody else, you're taking your lived experience and saying, I'm using it for the greater good. The greater good.
Yes. Good will prevail.
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
is why I like Les Brown, because he is a 75-year-old man. He has been through the whole gamut of life. Um, Eric
Yeah.
Erickson, in the hierarchy of needs, there's different phases, right?
Mm-hmm.
65 and up, it's integrity versus despair.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of elderly people out there in despair. There's a lot of all ages in despair, and they need to. I was a caregiver for 3 years of another veteran, actually, who ended up passing away the same year my mother did, and I learned so much from him. And the thing is that we're human first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everybody goes through the same things. We just don't know it. Everybody has the same struggles. It's just we're isolated from each other. We have no one sharing their story. And so when I love Les Brown, I'm going to mention him one more time.
You
He
can mention
says,
you can mention him as many times as you want to, because let me explain something to you. I'll be 52 tomorrow. When I was a younger man, Les Brown talked me off the ledge. I heard this man on the stage saying there's greatness in you. I wasn't feeling no kind of great. I didn't think great. I wasn't acting great. And I heard this man with so much power and conviction say there's greatness. This is in my Les
me
Brown book.
too.
There's greatness in you. And I believed him. I believed him. And to this very day, that has stuck with me. And when I meet him one day, I'm gonna tell him, thank you. You talked me off the ledge. I was 26 years old. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
But
yes,
yes, I mean, we have to get to that place where we say this life is bigger than us. Our
yes.
contribution is bigger than us. Take what has
Oh,
happened
yes,
to
it's
me
limitless.
and help somebody else. Our service is our reasonable act for being on this planet. It's our
Yes, and
reasonable act.
yeah, he also said because he's doing that Power Voice program, I'm going to plug it because with a Power Voice program like that, and we get on every Wednesday night, we have a class, and he pulls people's different stories. Some of them are crying, some of them are unstable. They're like, I'm scared. And he's like, give it to me, you know? And he wants to promote people and their voices. The first time I was able to communicate my story was in recovery, the 12-step program, where
Mm.
we share our story. It begins with that. It begins with not being, taking down the layers and trying not to be afraid, but you have to feel safe to do that. And so we're game changers, but Les Brown wants to, he said the bottom is crowded. And
Mm.
he also quotes, good evil will prevail when good men and women do nothing. And I'm not going to let nothing happen because there were several years early on in my life where nothing did happen. I never thought it was going to change.
You know,
And
there's
because we help people.
there's also a power in our transparency. We can't truly be those change agents that we're
No.
destined to be unless we're willing to be transparent. When Les Brown's words spoke into my life, I made a decision that I want to live my life so that somebody will, when they're on stage with a cap and gown, say, Dr. Gray, I did that because I heard what you said when I wasn't at my best. Because I'm willing to be transparent and I tell them all my flaws and stuff I've dealt with. We have to be brave enough to be transparent.
Yes, but we have to feel safe
Yes.
first.
Yes.
We can't trust everybody.
You ain't never lied.
When I at my previous job location, my whole life I trusted people before them giving me reason to. When I left that environment, because I was in the same situation a victim would be, right? In my work, in my world, out there at my work. And I would put myself in situations where I was victimized all the time. And when I left a bad situation, what happened is I was able to leave it. Same scenario, right? Leave it and then realize that we can't just trust people right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
They have to give us a reason to trust them first. And so that is something I had to flip. So I have to flip everything, the way I respond, because I come from a home of domestic violence and victimization. We can't trust everybody right off the bat. They have to give us reason to, right?
What,
I
what
feel
the
very safe.
Bible says that the peace of God will guard your heart and mind. You have to guard your heart and
Yeah.
mind. You truly do.
Well, I feel very safe on this platform with you, but I also want to help people. And so I'm willing. All our cards are on the table here.
I
You
love it.
know,
I love it.
there's no going back.
I just want to take this moment to those who are watching, because we're getting a lot of comments that's flowing on our feed here. If you have any questions for Joanna, please put those in the comments section so that I can get those to her, because I want this to be interactive. I want this. I mean, if you have something that's pressing that you want to ask her, please, by all means. That's why we're here. We're here to dialogue. Listen, let me explain something. Um, Anita is calling in from New Zealand. Most people don't talk to people outside of their own area code, their own zip code. We have an
Right.
opportunity to do some great collaboration through dialogue. So, and that's how
Yes.
we grow. We grow through synergy. So, if you have any questions, please, by all means, put it in a chat. And you got brother Pete. He's just thankful for and blessed to be here. Sister Nita tagged him and said you got to come, and he came. Pete Hunkin, God
Oh,
bless you.
that's awesome.
God bless you.
Thank you, John.
Listen, Joanna, thank you. And you know what? I thank you because here's what happens when we're trying to do something to make a difference. You know, Bob Proctor talks about the terror barrier,
Oh yeah.
and that terror barrier, sometimes it comes quickly, sometimes it's progressive. Mine came quickly because when I put out there the first time I was on the broadcast with John Tellerico, I said, I'm going to start a Power Positivity broadcast. And the minute I did it, I was like, what did I just do?
Well, you're stronger than I am,
I'm like,
because
what did I just do? But when you hit me up and said, I'll be a guest, I said, you know what, God? I said, you know what, God, the universe is talking. Thank you. Thank you. The Bible says they're more for you than against you. All we have to do
Yeah,
is just
it's there already.
speak it.
As John Tellerico,
It's
Bob
there.
Proctor says, it's there already. We
It's
just
there.
have to find it. Yes, we just got to look under everything,
We have a question for you, Joanna. Angie says,
Yes.
how did you make the decision to move from victim to champion?
Well, here's the deal. You have to sometimes go hit rock bottom, right? Because I have a saying, once you hit the bottom, there's only one way to go, up. So if you're at the bottom, there's help out there. There's support groups of all kinds. Reach out to a friend that you trust, someone to talk to. Because if you talk, you're getting it out. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice because I was too afraid. It got stuck down here because it's in layers. It's one layer at a time. Shrek says, right? How do you eat an onion? One layer at a time.
At a time.
Start small. Go easy on yourself. And when you're having a really rough time, pray, meditate, go outside for a walk. That works every time.
And you know what? And by the way, let me make let me correct myself, because I need to change my contact lenses. I believe that says Pele Hunkin. I am so sorry. I thought it was a T. I was saying Pete. Listen. You know how we listen. We say in church, charge it to my head, not my heart. My apologies. I was looking at the name and it was so unclear to me. So thank you so much for correcting me on that one. I am so sorry. I need to get my contact lenses upgraded. But Joanna, you mentioned the word work. There
Yes.
is work involved. It's not going to happen by osmosis. We have to work. We have to work.
Yeah, but there's a saying in recovery, easy does it. You are forgiven.
Angie asks, has the work you put in been worth it?
Oh, yeah, big time. Painful, but yes, big time. To change from within is my hashtag for the Flying Chameleon on Facebook. I am so excited to help people. It's worth it because every time you work with a client, you work on you too, They
Yes.
teach you just as much as you teach them. And because you're further along in the healing process, they thank you. You know, the last client said to me, Joanna, I could not have done it without you that first week or two. I was so numb. I love you. And you know, it's a relationship. It's a trust. And they don't have that trust inside for themselves. So we have to be gentle, first responders, as you said, and go in there and start with ground zero. I love you. You are worthy. Positive praise, positive affirmations. You know, I have my favorite Danette May meditations, visualizations,
Mm.
Les Brown, Bob Proctor, John Tellerico, people that believe in you.
Yeah.
You have to have people believe in you until you believe in yourself. And you also have to say, I am wonderful. I am beautiful. I am statements are very important for your brain.
Well,
You have to say nice things to yourself and go easy on yourself because it's a one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time for me and for my clients because I'm human and I have problems and I will always have problems because I'm human. But I don't have to let it define me and what I will become because we are going to get better and better the more we work at it. You have to want it. You have to be so down there at the bottom to want it.
you
There's so
gotta
many
be
people.
hungry.
You got to be hungry. Yep.
Gotta be hungry.
Amen, brother. You got to be hungry. But you also, if you're not hungry, find somebody that will feed you by mouth a little bit here and there
Yeah.
because they're at their bottom when we're helping them. They're devastated because
Yeah.
they're coming out of a bad situation. They're having to go through what they tried to avoid, right? Because the moment you think about leaving, all these terror bears start coming up.
Yep.
So I want to encourage every person in a victim situation to seek help. There's Al-Anon, Alcoholics Anonymous, all sorts of free services out there. You know, get yourself some help because it's out there. You're not alone. I felt isolated in my addiction. And so when you feel alone and isolated, that's when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So reach out
Yes.
when you're on fire,
You have a question.
you
You
know.
have a question from the comments. Anita asks, "What do you do when you need to fully recharge mind, body, and spirit? What do you do
Well,
when you need to fully recharge mind, body, spirit?"
you go in your most favorite place with your most favorite person, even yourself. You go outside in nature. I'm going to start next Tuesday, go to the beach once a week. When I was a caregiver, I went once a week and I was the happiest person on the planet. I was caring for somebody and caring for myself at the deep of my deepest despair. At my bottom, I'd helped somebody, a veteran, a family member. They asked me to keep an eye on him, and he called me his best friend. And my dad died 21 years ago, and I was able to understand what my dad went through caring for this caregiver, being a caregiver for my friend Bob. It's the most amazing experience. And to watch, I will tell you, you got to take care of yourself when you feel empty or you feel like you're reeling. Go out for a walk, take a break, get into meditation, or go into an instant prayer because that's key to bring yourself in and calm your body. If you have to go lie down, I do my meditations lying down because that's when I'm most relaxed. So I do that. It's awesome.
Um, how can people reach you if they want to reach out to you for some encouragement? Because listen, you are very encouraging, you are very inspiring, you are very affirming. So how can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Joanna Bricker Kleier. I'm also on Instagram at Kleier Joanna. You can put in the hashtag from victim to champion. I'll pop up. I tried to find hashtags where no one used them, so when you go to click on it, it'll go straight to who I am. So, and I'm on Twitter and all the major sites that are all out there for free. Thank God. And I want to thank you very much, Dr. John, because you are going to do a great work, and I look forward to collaborating with you and the other people on our platform.
Absolutely. Am I as well? And for an episode one, this has been outstanding. It's been touching. It truly has been inspiring. So I thank you so much for just being willing, being available, and just helping me to get past my terror barrier. And I had
Thank
butterflies all day
you.
long, but I just know that the collaborative energy, Bob Proctor calls it the vibrations. The vibrations are moving in a synergetic way.
They do. You know, when I'm working with my customers, that they're like, when can I come back for the next session? I can do it like in 30 seconds, say something to help them out, quick. As few words as possible. Because sometimes, helping people, we talk too much. We have to get to the point. We have to help them. It's not about us talking so much too, as well. Unless you're a moderator like yourself, you haven't asked questions. But I'm more of a quiet person. I don't ask questions, and I don't normally ask for help. But because of John Tellerico's group, through Thinking into Results, I'm starting to ask for help. That's a terror barrier of mine.
Yeah.
So first things first, just recognize it, and take a deep breath. We need to do breathing exercises. As a matter of fact, when I was on the summit, the first 20, I did a breathing exercise. I did a little mini meditation, and I sang a song, We Are the Champions by Queen.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
And then when I'm going to talk to somebody, or my first few times, remember the movie Bohemian Rhapsody in the beginning, or he's just about to go out
Yes.
and sing? He's jumping up and down. Well, I did that, and it really helps.
We have to do what works for us. Do what is essentially good for you.
Yeah, just know who you are. You're just in doubt about what you are. And, it takes a while to embrace who you are. So I do that every day. I'm trying. So you know what? Hey, all we have to do is show up and try.
That's right. And the universe will take care of the rest based on our efforts that we
Yeah,
make.
we're too scared, and there's a lot of fear of the unknown. And everybody has to deal with this. You're not alone. I deal with it on a daily basis. And the more honest we are, the more vigorously honest we are with people, they will heal faster. If we haven't experienced the healing process, how are we supposed to help somebody else? So it's very important that I master those things, so I know what to do, right, for myself. So when the person I'm helping is going through those things, I know what to do for them. So it's just experience.
Yes. Joanna, I thank you so much for being on today. I thank you for your willingness.
Thank
I thank you
you.
for your transparency, and I thank you for your heart. If you could do me a favor, if you could look in the camera and in 30 seconds give the people a one last word of inspiration and encouragement, that will be a blessing.
Hi, everybody. I am so glad you joined us today. You are the number one in your life. Take care of yourself first. Les Brown says, and actually Lisa Nichols, I heard it from first. You have to fill your cup. Your cup would have to run over into the saucer. Give from the saucer, not the cup. I personally have always given from an empty cup, and I have to love myself so I can love others. Love yourself first, and then you can love others. It starts with the self. It is not selfish. It is not self-seeking. It's just, we're wonderful. As my sister Judy says, we're wonderfully and beautifully created. So you have to embrace that, and you have to know it. And as my friend Angie said, you have to tell yourself you're Superwoman or Superman until you become Superwoman and Superman. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. And for those who are listening, I have a gift for you. If you email me, my website, drjohnnegray.com is on this. I'm strolling across the screen. On that website, if you go to my website and subscribe, I will send you an ebook that I wrote called 30 Days of Peace. I wrote that at one of the lowest times of my life, and it is a 30-day devotional, scriptures attached to paragraphs that are inspiring to you. And I also want to share this as well in the screen. It is I gathered 10 steps to building resilience. 10 steps to building resilience. Just nuggets to help you to get resilience is the ability to bounce back. And resiliency is a powerful, powerful tool for reaching your goals and becoming successful. So if you email me, my email is at the bottom, drjegray@gmail.com. I will send you this free PDF, 10 steps to building resilience. God bless you,
Thank you,
everybody.
John.
Have a wonderful, Joanna. You were awesome. Thank you so much.
You
And
taught me a lot you taught me a
oh,
lot at the end. Thank you.
thank you so much. And this has been awesome. This has been great. Thank you so much.